Once upon a time, in a certain kingdom, there ruled a king who had a son. The prince was very fond of hunting and horseback riding. A vizier was assigned to take care of the prince, but the vizier did not respect this duty at all. He believed that such menial tasks were beneath his dignity and tarnished his honor. Seeking a way to escape this responsibility, he devised a plan. One morning, the vizier took the prince out on a hunting expedition on horseback. Along the way, they encountered a strange-looking creature blocking their path. The prince quickly spurred his horse to catch the bizarre animal, but failed as it vanished in the blink of an eye. The prince lost his way and, overcome with fear, began to cry as he wandered aimlessly. After walking some distance, he came across a beautiful girl weeping by the roadside. The prince asked her, "Who are you? Why are you crying like this?" The girl replied, "I am the Princess of Hind. I have lost my companions and am utterly helpless." The prince helped the princess onto his horse, and they rode together until they came across a dilapidated, abandoned house. The princess asked the prince to stop the horse and said, "Let me check if anyone is inside that small house. If there is someone, I will ask them for directions to get out of this forest." She went inside the house, while the prince waited by the door with the horse. After waiting for a long time and seeing that the princess did not return, the prince grew curious. He tied the horse to a tree and entered the house. From a hidden spot, he saw that the princess had transformed into a demoness. Inside the house, two other demonesses, an old man and an old woman, were pacing around. The girl said, "Today, I have brought a plump human for you. Eating him will fill our stomachs." The old demoness said, "Is that so? Where have you kept him? Bring him here. Let us eat him and satisfy our hunger." Hearing this, the prince's heart sank. He tried to escape with his life, but couldn't. Meanwhile, the demoness girl returned to her beautiful form and came out of the house. She asked the prince, "Why do you look so terrified? You're trembling. What's wrong?" The prince replied, "I think I have stumbled into the den of enemies." "Enemies' den? You claim to be the prince of a king. Princes are supposed to be brave. Why don't you defeat them with your strength? They are not humans. They are after the soft flesh of my body." Realizing that the prince had figured out their plan, the demoness said, "Then do one thing. Pray to God. Only he can save you now." The prince knelt down, closed his eyes, and began to pray to God. After a while, he opened his eyes and saw that the girl had fled. Seizing the opportunity, the prince ran away and returned to the palace. He narrated the entire incident to his father. The king was furious. He believed that the vizier's negligence had put his son in danger and that the vizier might have been involved in a conspiracy. The king immediately summoned the vizier and ordered his execution. After finishing the story, the vizier said to the king, "Your Majesty, if it is proven that I had any evil intentions, I will gladly accept any punishment you give me. But I must say this, the person you are rewarding so generously is not your friend, but your enemy. He is a spy from a foreign land, plotting to kill you." The king asked, "Then what should I do now?" "Summon him to your court immediately and order his execution before he can harm you." Following the king's orders, messengers were sent to fetch Hakim Ryan. Ryan, unaware of the danger, hurried to the court. The king, in a grave tone, said, "Do you know why I have summoned you, Hakim?" "It is to order your execution." Hakim replied, "But what is my crime? Please tell me." "My advisors have informed me that you are a spy, sent here to kill me secretly. If this is true, I must kill you to save my own life." As he spoke, the king clapped his hands, and the executioner appeared. The king ordered, "Behead this traitor at once." Hakim, in shock, said, "Your Majesty, I cured you of a severe illness. Is this how you repay me? By taking my life? What a wonderful conscience and humanity you possess." The king replied, "Listen carefully, Hakim. I have lost all trust in you. If you could cure such a severe illness with a simple stick, then there is nothing beyond your power. Therefore, I must take your life to ensure my safety. Even the scent of a flower or anything else could be used by you to kill me." Hakim pleaded, "Your Majesty, do you think this reward is fitting for my service? Death, Yes, death is the only reward you deserve. Realizing that death was near, Hakim's eyes filled with tears. He thought, this is the result of my actions. I came to do good, and now I must give up my life. This is what they call bad luck. What a wonderful judgment. It's all the fault of my fate. The executioner, without giving Hakim any chance to speak or think, suddenly blindfolded him with a black cloth. He then drew his sword and prepared to strike. Hakim cried out, "Your Majesty, what are you doing? Revoke the death sentence. Set me free, or God will not forgive you. He will surely punish you for this crime." The king replied, "Once I give an order, I do not know how to take it back." Hakim lamented, "O God, is this your justice? This is like the act of that crocodile Demonis." The king asked, "What is this story of the crocodile? Tell me." Hakim replied, "No, Your Majesty, I won't tell you that story before my death. Please spare me, and may God bless you." As Hakim prepared himself for death, some courtiers intervened and said, "Your Majesty, what are you doing? This man worked so hard to cure your illness, and now you are sentencing him to death? For God's sake, do not do this. Please spare him." The king roared, "Impossible. You all know this man possesses magical powers. If he could cure such a severe illness with a simple remedy, he could easily take my life. I cannot risk my own safety by letting him live. I have no choice but to kill him." Weeping, Hakim said, "Your Majesty, since I must die, please grant me some time to return to my home. I left everything in disarray when I rushed here upon receiving your summons. Let me tidy up my house and bid farewell to my friends and neighbors. I promise to return to your court." The king looked at Hakim, who continued, "Your Majesty, I have some medical books at home. I wish to bring them and hand them over to you before my death. They contain advice on treating various diseases." "Books? What kind of books are these?" "You will find information on diseases and their treatments. After my execution, open the book to the 3rd page and look at the 3rd line. You will see that my severed head will speak." The king was astonished. "What are you saying? This is unbelievable. A severed head speaking? This is some ghostly affair."
Hakim replied, "Yes.
This is one of the special skills I have acquired through my lifelong study of supernatural arts." Curious, the king ordered his guards to escort Hakim to his home under strict surveillance. Hakim returned to the court under heavy guard, carrying an old book in one hand and a box of medicines in the other. The box contained some powdered medicine. He poured a small amount of the fine powder into a large vessel and said to the king, "Your Majesty, after my head is severed, apply this medicine to stop the bleeding. And here is the book. But do not open it until after my execution. Once the bleeding stops, open the book to the 3rd page." The king, unable to contain his curiosity, opened the book before Hakim's execution. To his surprise, the first 2 pages were blank. Enraged, the king said, "This is a joke, Hakim. There is nothing written in this book." Hakim smiled faintly and said, "Your Majesty, please keep turning the pages. You will surely find something." As the king continued to turn the pages, his body began to grow numb. Eventually, he collapsed to the floor, foaming at the mouth. Before dying, he uttered only one word, "Poison." The fisherman then turned to the demon and said, "O demon, what lesson did you learn from the story? God always protects those who do good deeds. You wanted to take my life without any fault of mine, and he has taught you a fitting lesson.